Hello, my name is Dr. Shadi Bashai, and welcome to this course Introduction to Psychology with a focus on social, developmental, and clinical aspects. What I'm hoping to do in this brief video is introduce you to the course and introduce you to tips and tricks on how to do very well in this online course. Before we do any of that, take a minute here with me. Ask yourself the question, what is psychology to you? We've all psychologized at one point or another. And by that I mean we've all made inferences as to why our family members, the people we love, the people that we work for, why these people behave the way they do, why do they believe in the things that they do. So in a way, we're all really budding or junior psychologists because we're constantly in this battle to try and understand others around us and our place in the world. Or perhaps you're introduced to psychology through other means. For example, maybe you've seen images like the one you see right now on the right-hand side of the screen. What is it that you see in these images? Take a look here. Some people see two animals interacting. Others perhaps see two people doing something, an activity of some sort, dancing. Others see hints of blood, other instances of violence. What is it that makes two people that see the exact same image respond in completely different ways? Or perhaps you're introduced to psychology through an image like this one. What kind of story is this image really saying? How would you complete this story? What factors or elements led to the scene that you're seeing in front of you right now? Examples such as these are of what we call projective tests. These are types of psychological tests that are so ambiguous in nature that, according to their designers, you project a part of yourself, a part of your personality perhaps, to complete this picture. And it is in this completion through one's personality that we see the function of particular tests, such as the Rorschach and the thematic apperception test. So this picture comes from the Rorschach ink blot test, a sample of projective testing. And this particular photo is one of a set of 10 that comes from a particular test called the thematic apperception test. This leads me to course description and the goals of the course. Psychology is defined as the scientific investigation of human behavior, emotions, and brain. In this particular course, we will focus on study of adjustment and disorder development, personality, and how the social environment impacts human behavior, human emotions, and the brain. What's important to remember about this particular course is that we will be surveying psychology as a scientific discipline. And what that means is that basically we use the scientific method and we adhere to the principles of science and the scientific enterprise in uncovering factors related to development, social psychology, i.e. social factors that influence behavior. So the idea is that for us to gain an appreciation of psychology as a scientific discipline. This is the textbook for this particular course. Okay, this is the picture of the 5th Canadian edition by Linenfeld et al. For the purposes of this course, you may use the 4th edition. You can even go a little bit earlier than that with the 3rd edition. Remember, the further you move out from the current edition, the less overlap that you'll find with the current edition. A little bit about myself. So I've obtained my bachelor's in psychology from York University in Toronto. And I obtained a master's and a PhD in clinical psychology at the University of Calgary. And in particular, I was interested in cross-cultural approaches to psychopathology. I was very interested in cross-cultural understanding of depression and how depression, especially as it is understood from the cognitive behavioral model, is experienced in places like Egypt. I then went on to do an honorary research fellowship and residency at the University of Exeter, where I was introduced to concepts such as mindfulness and mindfulness-based interventions. And I obtained my registration as a clinical psychologist, and I am a registered clinical psychologist here in the province of Saskatchewan. And right now, my research focuses on depression, and in particular, how to adapt treatments for depression, especially for use amongst people of different cultural backgrounds, and how do you promote and let people know about evidence-based mental health interventions for conditions such as depression. So the promotion and the adaptations of these particular treatments for people suffering from depression, both at home and abroad, from various backgrounds, cultural and otherwise. A little bit about how I will be instructing this particular course. I do have office hours up, and these office hours will be held on Fridays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So I will leave both a Zoom link for those of you who are truly remote away from Saskatchewan or Regina, in order for you to be able to access my office hours, but I'm also available in my office during those office hours, and the office will be on the third floor of the Administration Humanities building here at the University of Regina campus in Regina. So the room is located right next to the main psychology office. If you can't make the office hours, you always have a good chance of reaching me through email. I'm very, very good at returning emails. So please feel free to email me, and you have the email address here up. And please do take advantage of this. Students near the ends of their careers regret not taking advantage of these opportunities put on by professors and supervisors, which is to, get additional support, get additional guidance as necessary. So I do encourage you to take advantage of that particular resource when you feel like you need it. The class format will be very much like what we're doing right now, which is a combination of PowerPoint slides mixed in with some audiovisual materials such as videos that I link to on YouTube. In terms of evaluations, there are 9 chapter quizzes that correspond to each of the 9 chapters that we will be covering here. One thing to remember is that chapter 9, we will only do limited coverage of that particular chapter, and therefore there is no video lecture that's available. What is available is a review of the sections that are pertinent for this particular class, which is up to section 9.3. So chapter 9 from sections 9.0 all the way to sections 9.3. So you've got 9 chapter quizzes, each at there's 8 of them that are about 1.5% each, and then you've got one chapter 9, since it's limited coverage, it's only 1%, and then you've got 3 exams, 2 midterms throughout the semester, and then 1 final exam during the final exam period. Remember, none of these are cumulative, and they're 29% each. Okay, so altogether it works out to 100%, and most of the exams are going to be multiple choice, with the exception of probably the final exam, which will have some short answer questions and potentially even fill in the blanks questions. Remember that we'll be using Proctor Track to monitor exam activity throughout this course in the 3 exams that I just discussed, so 2 midterms and 1 final. All of these 3 exams will be using Proctor Track, so I do ask you to download the appropriate software and make sure when you're starting the exam, you're using a computer that can handle what is required in terms of software capability for Proctor Track. I have a few tips here up for you that hopefully will help you do better in this particular course. Video lectures are relatively slow, and this is for a reason. Okay, there's lots of detail that we discuss in these video lectures. So the best evidence that I know of tells me it's best to put the playback speed for these particular videos, which are all going to be on your courses, with the corresponding slides. Okay, all of them are accessible in the appropriate times on your courses for this particular course. So I do encourage you to go through the videos as well as go through the lecture slides. And I do encourage you to watch the lecture videos at maybe 2 times the speed or 1.5 times the speed. Okay? And if you do that more than once, it turns out that you actually retain more. At least this is according to recent evidence that I've read about. Okay? So go through it again. Very important that you read the textbook. Only about 70 or 80% of the material in the textbook is going to be covered in the lectures, which means that there's about 20 to 30% that is only available in the lectures, or that are only available in the textbook. And what that means is you really have to read the textbook in order to get coverage or feel safe about covering the entirety of the course, which includes stuff that's in the lectures and stuff that's in the textbooks. There overlap, but as well as the stuff that's not overlapping. Okay, that is just how universities work. Okay, you're expected to read outside of classroom time. In order to do well in university, you will have to do additional reading. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news on this one. I do encourage you to practice exams. Use the quizzes as kind of practice sessions for the exams. They're very similar questions, and in fact, they all come from the same source. And remember that exams are timed for a reason. Okay, you're going to be anxious doing exams and quizzes in a short period of time, but that is precisely part of doing exams. You're going to have to feel some of that anxiety and some of that stress, and be able to manage that anxiety and that stress, and be able to appropriately manage your time and cover the entirety of the exam in the time allotted. That is just a very important basic skill of university going forward. Okay? And I do encourage you not to cheat. Okay, remember, Proctor Track will catch any instances where you're using different pages, for example, right? You're copying and pasting into, for example, AI, generative AI stuff. Be very careful. It's not worth it, and it's very easy to detect using the software and the procedures that we have in place currently. So I highly discourage you from cheating. Your grades are a reflection of your own efforts in this class. So you are to do these exams on your own, and you are to do them with no help. Here's a sample question, kind of things that I'll be asking about in quizzes or exams. So the first sample question there is a multiple choice question, which makes up about 80 to 90% of the exams. And then you have a sample at the bottom there of a short answer question, and how the points for the responses will be broken up here. All exams are mandatory, which means that missing one or more of the exams that are allotted for this particular course will mean an automatic grade of NP, unfortunately. And if you miss an exam and you let me know, have appropriate documentation, there is always a chance or an opportunity for you to rewrite the exam that you missed. However, do remember that I do change makeup exams so that they're a bit different from the original exam. Okay? But in doing so, it is very difficult to guarantee that the same level of difficulty will apply across the makeup exam and the original exam. So it's in your best interest to attend the exam as scheduled, unless there's obviously an important reason for why you can't do so, including things like illness and other family emergencies. Okay? So I am flexible and I do understand, but I highly encourage you to keep in tune with these exam dates. I'm also quite flexible and understanding of accommodation requests, but you have to go through the appropriate channels through the Accessibility Center. If you have the appropriate documentation through the Accessibility Center, like I said, I'm happy to work within the boundaries of these accommodations that have been provided to you. It's your responsibility as an adult in university to reach out to me to get the appropriate accommodations discussed and to make sure that I've received your accommodations from the Accessibility Center. So there is an opportunity for you to get up to 3% additional bonus points. Oftentimes for online classes, we give up to 1% additional bonus point, because only one of those 3 is allowed to be online, but most people are, of course, doing their participation points online. The highest additional participation that you could ever receive is 3 bonus points. So What that looks like, you have to sign up to the research participation pool through the psychology participant pool. It's an entirely different process that I don't have control over. And what happens there is that you pick a study, you do it, and the psychology participant pool, the people that are taking care of that particular resource, they send a report at the very end of the semester telling me who participated that were part of my class. At that point, obviously given these records, I'm able to add those additional participation points as necessary or appropriate. Like I said, take advantage of me offering you these opportunities to ask questions about me, about the course, about my training, what I'm interested in. It's important for you to be engaged, and again, based on almost 10 years of experience doing this now, people that are more engaged in university, that are asking more questions, that are getting to know their professors, typically speaking, they do better. So if you do have the opportunity to take more advantage of being more engaged, don't hesitate to do so. Welcome to the course. I'm very excited to be your guide. Please feel free to email me with any questions if you have any. Otherwise, until next time, take care.